Hello, everybody. It's the Worm, and welcome back to Steins. Last time, we've found ourselves, or rather, Okabe has found himself in quite the sticky situation here. And I don't just mean the whole getting taken by Moeka thing. Yeah, it appears we might be stuck in, well, stuck in a certain fate, which, you know, funnily enough, thinking back to a few other VNs I've played in the past, that idea of being trapped by fate, it's come up more than once, and so I can definitely say that this'll probably be very difficult to get around, if we can at all. So yeah, Mayuri seems to die every time, no matter what we do. Now, as I said last time, what was curious to me is that the only death that Mayuri had that seemed completely accidental was the situation with Nai. The situation in the taxi cab and the situation in the shop seemed more suspicious to me. The taxi cab, that's obvious, because the guy actually said Okabe's name. And then also, why were the doors unlocked, even though for some reason it was locked for Okabe? I don't know. I don't know much about taxi cabs. Is it is it locked for the passengers to get out but not to get in? Is that how it is? Because that's the only way that's unless the taxi cab directly unlocked those doors, I don't see how else that would have worked. But regardless, the guy said Okabe's name and seemed to know him, so that's suspicious. And then, of course, the scenario that occurred in the shop where was it an explosion or a fire that was lit, and then a cop came in, shouted terrorist, and then shot Mayuri. That just seems suspicious. And Okabe even had a thought where he said, was it actually a CERN agent dressed up as a cop who did that? And it certainly seems very suspicious. So that's all to say, yes, it does seem that Mayuri is stuck in a very firm fate here, but it doesn't seem to be. I don't know. I feel like. See, the thing is, it's not like we're stuck in a loop where we can just die and restart. Okabe has to actually go back to the lab and use the dang machine every time. So that's kind of that puts us in an even more difficult position. If we could just loop on our own, I would have said something like, okay, I think we could try a few more things to see if we can get Mayuri out alive, but unfortunately, that restriction of having to use the machine every time definitely complicates things. So, at the moment, I guess I'm inclined to agree with Okabe's assessment that maybe this is something like convergence or fate, that Mayuri must die here at this point in time. At least until further notice. So, and yeah, that scene with Nai was pretty dang creepy, so I don't know if there's going to be more to it than that, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And then, of course, the latter part of the episode had to do with Moeka. And I find it interesting that she actually gave us all the information. Maybe she thought, I brought backup. I brought a guy who's going to come up here, save me, and, disable Okabe. So I'm going to tell him everything because it doesn't really matter. It seems, but it still seems a bit weird that she just gave him all the information. But let's put that aside for now. the information we did get is that she's part of a group called the Rounders, and they are a group that are not a part of CERN, but are utilized by CERN. And it sounds like, at least my understanding of what she was saying, of what she said, excuse me, was that this mysterious FB might be a part of the Rounders rather than CERN itself. But in any case, it's the Rounders' job specifically to go out and find all the IBM 5100s. And so that is why they are here. And I think that presents the possibility that at least, what was it? Was it after the Lotto 6 change? No. It was the change... It was the change where Lukaku was turned into a girl. After that change, the IBM 5100 has disappeared from our lab and presumably from the shrine. I think now that we know about the Rounders, it could be the case that they were able to get to it before us in whatever world line we're in now. And of course, Moika just being an agent, she doesn't know why she's doing this, so that's not really surprising, I suppose. I think at one point she said she's never actually met FB. I need to look at it again, actually. Well, at least my sense was that FB was a person, or something like that. But in any case, she claimed she wasn't high enough on the totem pole to be able to actually issue commands or stop anything that was going on. And yeah, we got the clarification that I wanted, which was her mission is to capture the time machine and capture Kurisu, Okabe, and Daru. That makes sense. And yes, Mayuri is just sort of collateral damage. Now that does raise the question. You know, there are other people who know about the time machine. I think Suzuha knows a bit about it. Feyris knows about it because of the deal that we made. Were they going to be targets too? Or was Mayuri just taken out because she happened to be there at the time? I'm not sure that was cleared up. I might have to look at that again as well. In any case, Okabe's been captured. So I'm not sure where this goes now. I mean, do we just... Well, either we're somehow rescued, I think. Or we might do something like... Well, I don't know. I mean, we're captured by CERN. And then she said he would complete the research, the time travel research. So maybe we'll skip ahead. Maybe we'll do a time skip and get to a point where we get to the end of that or something. I don't know. Let's find out, shall we? Let's continue on. I wake up in the back of a station wagon. The windows are coated with black film, so I can't tell where we are. I feel a throbbing pain in the back of my head. My hands are tied behind my back. What time is it? Yeah, and on the possibility of getting rescued, the only person I could think who would be able to do that would be Suzuha, but again, that seems a bit... It's tough because how would she know where we are and, you know, what the situation was? So... Who knows? What time is it? How long have I been unconscious? There's a man with me inside the car. I recognize him from a previous time leap. He's the one who stabbed Mayuri in the taxi. Okay. Good to get that confirmation there. The man seems to notice I've woken up, but he doesn't speak. He just waves his gun menacingly as if to say there's no hope of escape. Yeah, so the guy in the taxi was a rounder. The dashboard clock reads 7:30. I look out the window again. It seems that the car stopped in the middle of Kuramai Dori's pavement. We're close to the lab. Has the attack already happened? Before I left, I told everyone, including Mayuri, to run. If she did as I said, she won't die by their hands. But that doesn't mean she's safe. If I don't do something, Moeka is going to take the time leap machine away. What will happen then? CERN can have the machine if it'll save Mayuri. See, I get his mindset, you know? He wants to save Mayuri above everything else. But when I see him say stuff like that, I have to think, okay, you're saving her sort of in the short term, but we already have some evidence here that CERN and, you know, the committee of, what is it, 100, 300, whichever. We've already had some... Well, we've heard that they're going to develop an evil dystopia. And then, in terms of actual evidence, we have their callous, you know, use of hundreds of lives in the pursuit of time travel technology. So, that seems to track. So, you know, you could save Mayuri now, but depending on how this goes, you know, the CERN dystopia is not that far off. So, I don't know, you save her now, and then you're stuck in a dystopia. I don't know. But, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to my own questions that I'm asking. The problem is that it won't, not when the world itself is determined to kill her. As long as the time leap machine remains in my hands, I can keep trying to fix things. I'll leap again and again until I find a way to save her. But if I lose the machine, then the future is decided. Future without Mayuri. I have to get it before they do, even if it means I might get shot. As long as I survive to reach the time leap machine, everything will be alright. Oh my goodness. He's just doing it. My bound hands limit me to headbutts and kicks, but I somehow manage to knock down the man guarding me and escape. Really? My chest and neck are covered with blood. I must have been shot during the struggle, but thanks to the adrenaline pumping through my body, I barely feel any pain. I can still move, that's all that matters. I run up the stairs with my hands still tied. I can only pray that I'll be able to operate the time leap machine quickly enough. Mayuri, Krisu, and Daro are in the lab. So are Moeka and her men. When I open the door and burst in, everyone looks at me in surprise. When she sees my tattered body, Mayuri runs up to me with tears in her eyes. Wait. I try to stop her. In the corner of my eye, I see Moeka take aim at Mayuri. I try to put myself between them. I try to cover Mayuri with my body. But a man grabs me from behind and pulls me back. I watch helpless as Mayuri's tiny body drops to the floor. Her eyes, wide and wet with tears, seem to stare into mine. But I can see that they have already lost their light. She's gone. Again. 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 What happens next is the same as before. Suzuha defeats the Rounders, and Krisu helps me time leap. Wow. Okay. You know what? Now I'm thinking something else here. So, Okabe has come to the conclusion that fate is deciding Mayuri has to die here. Now I'm thinking, are we also in a situation where fate has to have him use the time leap machine at this point in time? Because it is suspiciously easy, and I'm going to put quotes around easy, but it seems suspiciously easy how he's been able to get and use the time leap machine every time. I mean, just now. So he's able to punch and headbutt the guard with a gun. I mean, he said he was shot, so clearly it wasn't easy, but he was able to do... But he's what? Is he 18 or 19? I can't remember how old Okabe is. And here's a trained rounder. He's able to get away from him. I don't know. Okay, maybe that one's not as... Okay, but then there was the time where he was able to... remember when Mayuri got hit with a car in the street? He was able to get up, slam her to the ground, and then make his escape when there were like 2 or 3 squads of guys around who just disappeared. So it almost makes me think that there's something even more crazy going on. I don't know. A flood of sound beats on my eardrums. When it subsides, I find myself again in the lab. It's just before 5. I have 2.5 hours before Mayuri dies. I find myself staring at the time leap machine. This thing is the reason for Moeka's attack. If only we had never built the phone wave. If only we had never sent those D-mails. Perhaps the future might be different, instead of the nightmare it promises now. Would anything change if I broke it? Just smashed it to pieces right here. In a rush of delirium, I grab a chair and lift it high over my head. Just as I'm about to bring it crashing down on this infernal machine, a voice cries out.
Okabe! Nani shittenno yo?
Okabe, what are you doing? Krisu grabs my arm and pulls me back.
Ima, kowasou to shita?
Are you trying to destroy the machine?
Nani mo kowasanaku tte.
You don't have to break it, Okabe.
タイムリープはしない。そう決めたんだから、それでいいでしょ?
We already decided that we're not going to perform any time leaps. Isn't that enough?
とにかく、椅子を下ろして。
Anyway, put the chair down. I lower the chair slowly. Not because Krisu told me to, but because I realized what would happen if I really did break the machine. It caused, or will cause, Mayuri's death. But at the same time, it is also my only chance of averting that future. If I lose it, I lose my only hope of saving her. The fear of that outcome stayed my hand.
顔色悪いな。どうしたのよ?
You look pale. What's wrong? Look, Okabe, I've already said this, I think 2 episodes in a row now, but I'll say it again. I don't think you're solving this thing by yourself. You know, I want to bring Souza into this, but at least... I mean, I know, didn't he do that one time? And he had them run away, right? Of course, that didn't work out, but that was when he ran away himself.
聞いてんの?
Are you listening to me? I can't deal with this. Not now.
ちょっと!
Hey, wait. I flee from the lab. I don't have a particular destination in mind. People look at me strangely as I shuffle down the street. I imagine I must look like I crawled up from the grave. Soon I get fed up with the crowd around the station and escape to the pedestrian overpass. I get about halfway across the bridge and squat down on the concrete. The giant screen on UPX is advertising some gothic punk band. The ticker at the bottom of the display is today's weather forecast along with the date and time. I realize that today is Friday the 13th. That's quite unlucky. Is there no way to get through today without Mayuri dying? It's already 5:30. 2 hours until the attack. The lights around Akihabara Station turn on one by one as the sun sets. The moe might be gone from Akiba, but the area around the station is still as posh as ever. I don't belong here. The bridge I'm sitting on has become a date spot for couples. I see them standing here and there, gazing at the cityscape with their arms around each other. Somehow, they never seem to tire of the dull, unchanging scenery. What am I doing here? Mayuri's about to die.
そこの地べたに座ってるドキュン男。
Hey you, the DQN sitting on the ground. Surprised to hear myself be called the slang term for delinquent, I lift my head and see Krisu standing there.
いきなり飛び出したと思ったら、こんなところにいたか。
I thought you were trying to run away from everything, yet here you are.
No. Christina.
Hey, Christina.
何よ。
What?
今何時だ
What time is it now?
5時38分。
5:38?
ねえ、そんなところでドキュン行為してる暇があったら、買い出し付き合いなさいよ。
Come on. If you have time to sit around like a DQN, then you can help me with the shopping. Shopping. Oh, right. Preparations for the party. In the original timeline, I went shopping with Krisu at the UPX supermarket. And then we talked on this bridge just like now. It feels like so long ago. Back then, I had no idea what was about to happen.
どうなの？買い出し。来るのか来ないのか。
Well, are you going to come along or not? I sigh deeply. I don't believe that it was wrong to time leap. However,
クリス
Kurisu. Okay. I keep my eyes lowered.
初めてまともに名前呼んだな。
That's the first time you've said my name properly. I feel her eyes on me.
助けてくれ
Help me. Is this it? Finally? Are we finally doing it? Is he finally not gonna be just doing everything himself? Is he finally gonna try and rely on other people? I can't save my Yuri alone. Yes, thank you. I realize that now. Reliving today again and again, only to taste the same despair each time, has taught me one important lesson. Alone, I am powerless. Yeah, bit of a shame Mayuri had to die so many times just for you to see that. Alone, I have no hope.
助けてくれ
Please help me.
話して。
Tell me what happened.
あんたがタイムリープしたのは分かってる。
I know you used the time leap machine.
何
What? I look up in surprise. Krisu doesn't meet my stare. Instead, she leans on the guardrail and gazes down at the plaza with her usual frown.
あんたに誰かから電話がかかってきたと思ったら、いきなり表変したから。
You get a phone call, and suddenly you're like a different person.
私の目はごまかせない。
You can't deceive my eyes that easily.
3時間後から来た
I came from 3 hours in the future.
何があった？
What happened?
マユリが殺された
They killed Mayuri. I lower my head, trying to hold back the tears. Then I explain about CERN and Moeka and about how Kurisu herself activated the time leap machine and made this possible. I tell her how I've already done several time leaps. I explain how Mayuri's death seems to be the will of the world itself and that I can't save her no matter how hard I try. I keep talking for 30 minutes straight. During that time, Krisu hardly says a word.
全て俺の責任だ。
It's all my fault. Talking to Karisu lets me sort out everything I've done, everything I've seen.
セルンにハッキングしろなんてダルに頼まなければよかった。
I shouldn't have told Daru to hack CERN.
タイムマシンを作ろうなんて言い出さなければよかった。
I shouldn't have asked you to build a time machine. Well, hey, you know what? We have an option here. It would be a pretty final option, but if everything else fails, you could time leap back to before you asked Daru to hack CERN and tell him to stop. Or just don't bring it up in the first place. You could do that. That would stop you from getting on the path of creating a time machine, right? Well, I mean, the phone wave would still be around. But you could give, if you, again, this is sort of like a final situation thing here. You could go even further back and stop yourselves from building the phone wave in the first place. So, you know, there is an option here.
萌香をラボメンになんかするんじゃなかった。
I shouldn't have made Moeka a lab man.
マユリが死ぬのは全て俺の責任なんだ。
Mayuri's death is all my fault. That's why I needed to bear the burden myself. I was resolved to do whatever it took to save Mayuri, never faltering, never giving up. And yet, my resolve is already crumbled.
そんなまずいことが起きようとしてるのに、あんたはなんでここでぼんやりしてるの？
If you know that Mayuri's going to die, then what are you doing wasting time here? Chris's tone is haughty. Is this how I sound when I'm playing Hoin Kilma?
わからなくなったからだ。
Because I just don't understand.
わからないって何が？
What don't you understand?
マユリを助ける方法が。
How to save Mayuri?
あんたの話を聞いた限りじゃ、時間順序保護仮説は本当だったってことになるのかな。
Based on what you said, I guess the chronology protection conjecture is true.
何をしてもどうやってもマユリが死んでしまうんだ。
No matter what I do, Mayuri dies.
だからタイムリープを延々と繰り返したか。
And that's why you keep time leaping.
タイムリープマシンは理論上絶対安全だと証明されているわけじゃない。
There's no guarantee that the machine is safe, you know. Krisu lowers her gaze and cups her chin, as she often does when assessing a problem.
これまでは何事もなく成功してたかもしれないけど、繰り返し使うことでどんな影響が出るかもわからない。
Even if the machine works perfectly, repeated use may have serious side effects.
もしかしたら時間の輪、つまり因果率から外れるかもしれない。
For example, you may become disconnected from causality itself. You know, I don't know what that means, but the fact that you've said it makes me think that it's going to happen at some point.
あんたはそんな危険を冒してるの。そのことを自覚して。
You need to understand the risks if you're going to continue.
因果率から外れるとは。
Disconnected from causality meaning...
SF 小説によくあるでしょ。閉じた時間の輪の中で永遠にさまよい続けるってこと。永久に年は取らないけど、永久に同じ日からは出られなくなる。
It happens all the time in sci-fi. You'll become trapped in a closed time loop, never aging, never dying, but doomed to repeat the same day for all eternity. Oh, I see. Just, you know, the average causality disconnection.
最悪の場合、なかったことにされる可能性だってある。
Worst case, you may cease to exist entirely. Okay. Good to know at least what the worst case is. What?
存在の抹消。あんたの18年だか19年だかの人生の痕跡すべてを あらゆる人間が最初から知らなかったことにされるかも。
Every trace of your existence, your 18 or 19 years of life on Earth, could vanish. And nobody would remember you because your life would never have happened.
時間を飛び越えることはそれだけ危険なのよ。
Leaping through time is just that dangerous.
人間は根源的に時間的存在者である。
Humans are temporal beings. Chrisu looks surprised.
ハイデガーね。私も今その言葉を言おうと思ってた。
Heidegger. I was thinking of that quote too.
お前から教わった言葉だ。
I heard it from you first.
いつ？
When?
俺はもう何度もタイムリープしている。
This isn't the first time I've leaped.
なるほど。
Right. Of course. Chrisu squats next to me, thinking deeply.
あんたの話が本当だったとして、マユリを助けたい気持ちは私だって同じよ。
If what you said is true, then I want to save my Yuri too.
でもタイムリープマシン製作に関わった人間の一人としてあれを何度も使うことは勧められない。
But as the co-creator of the time leap machine, I can't recommend its continued use.
あんたはそれでももがく？
Will you listen to my advice?
俺は
I can't do it alone. I know that now.
だからお前に助けを求めたんだ。
I need your help.
もがくために、マユリを助けるために。俺一人じゃダメだったが、クリスの協力があれば何とかできるかもしれない。できると信じたい。
I have to save my Yuri. I can't do it alone, but together we might have a chance. I need to believe that.
力を貸してくれ。
Please, lend me your strength. Chrisu sighs.
無茶しやがってバカ。
You're such a stubborn fool.
あんた壊れててもおかしくなかったんだからね。
What you've been through, I'm surprised it hasn't broken you already. Incredibly, she sounds concerned about me. She looks at me for a moment, then turns away as if embarrassed.
協力はする。
I'll help.
ただしあんたのために協力するわけじゃないから。
Anyway, I'm not doing this for you, okay?
全部マユリのためよ。
Doing it for my Yuri.
ああ、当たり前だ。
Yeah, of course.
それにあんたを被験者にすればいいデータが取れそうだし。
That, and I think you'll make a good test subject.
それはつまりセルンの人体実験を肯定するということか。
Now you're talking like CERN.
全然違う。
It's completely different.
どこが？
How so?
被験者が岡部っていうところが。
I only experiment on you.
マッドサイエンティストとしては自分自身も平気で実験台にするんでしょ。何せマッドだし。
Besides, mad scientists experiment on themselves all the time, don't they?
そうだな。
I guess. I'm no longer afraid to time leap. I'll do anything to save my Yuri.
冗談よ。本気にするな。
It's just a joke. Take it so seriously. Okay. And of course, you know, this little heart to heart is happening on the bridge with all the couples. Let's not forget that. Chrisu stands up and looks at her watch.
さて、もうあまり時間もないから、これからあたふたするより、もっとじっくり対策を練った方がいい。
There's not much time. I think you should have a clear plan before trying to change the future again.
つまり
Meaning?
今からもっと前の時間に飛んでおく。
Yeah, that was always another possibility. Now again, the only hitch with that is the time leap machine will not have been invented yet. But presumably it will, considering, you don't even, you're on the path to making it already. In fact, you could probably even create it sooner now that you know what to do. So presumably you'll have more than enough time to think of a plan if, as long as, we don't exactly know why Moeka chose now to attack. But whatever we do, we should make sure Moeka doesn't know about it. We don't want her to move up the time of attack. So, yeah.
そこで改めて私に事情を説明して。
Then, explain the situation to me again. Risu's right. My actions so far have been almost entirely random, and look where that's gotten me. I need a real plan if I'm going to save Mayuri.
行こう。
Let's go. Risu reaches her hand out to me. I grasp it and pull myself up. Mayuri and Daru are already back when we return to the lab. Suzuha is there too. To get rid of them, Krisu and I explain that we forgot to do the shopping and ask them to take care of it for us instead. I have to cough up enough money to convince them to go, but it works.
マユリ本人はともかく橋田にも話さないの？
I understand why you can't tell Mayuri, but why can't you tell Hashida?
必要になったら話す。
I'll tell him when it's necessary. For now, it's not, and I don't have time to explain. While Karisu sets up the machine, I head downstairs to the Brawn Tube workshop, kick open the door, and turn on the 42-inch CRT. That went more smoothly than I anticipated. It's highly illegal, of course, but I'll leap long before the cops get here. Karisu looks shocked when I return to the lab.
住居侵入罪で逮捕されるわよ。
They'll throw you in the slammer for breaking and entering.
どうせ過去に戻れば今のはなかったことになる。
In a few seconds, it won't have happened. Karisu hands me the headgear and I put it on.
そっか。あんたの主観じゃそうなるわけだ。
I see. That's how it looks from your perspective.
私の主観だとどうなるんだろう。あんたが飛んだ後、ここはどうなる？
What does it look like from my perspective? What happens here after you leap? Yeah, I was just thinking I was going to mention this at the end of the episode, but I guess I can mention it now. If the past events of this episode have made me really think, I really hope it's a single timeline rather than multiple timelines. But I think it might be going for multiple timelines. At least because, and the reason why I say that isn't necessarily anything concrete, it's more just, I feel like it would hurt more, at least emotionally, it would hurt more if it turns out to be multiple timelines. And I feel like that's why they would do it. Because, yes, if we're doing multiple timelines and he goes back and makes a new one by sending his memories back, then, yeah. What that means from her perspective would be she and Okabe would still be here. They're just sending a copy of his memories back, not him. So then, he'd get arrested, and then Moeka would launch her attack, Mayuri would die, Daru and Karisu would get arrested and be forced to finish the time machine research. And of course that also means all the previous time leaps meant we left behind a reality where the same sort of thing occurs over and over again. And boy, that's kind of depressing. That really... That's why I kind of want it to be a single timeline now, because at least in that instance, we have a chance to, how do I put this? To make it right, to to actually undo the deaths, like Mayuri's death and the terrible things that are going to occur. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they're gonna make that a reveal at some point, but yeah.
そのデータもすぐに取れる。
You'll know soon enough. My consciousness travels to the past. That I know from experience. No, it's specifically not your consciousness, Okabe. It's your memory. But what about the body I leave behind? Yeah, that's a good question. If time is a straight line, then it's likely the present will be reconstructed based on my actions in the past. Let's hope that's what's happening. But if the many worlds interpretation holds, and after I leave, this world will continue on as if nothing happened. I used to be so fascinated by the structure of the universe. But now, I don't really care. All that matters is saving Mayuri. Krisu's fingers stop typing on the keyboard.
どうした?
What's wrong?
考えたら思考がループしちゃってた。
It's nothing. I was just thinking.
D メールのような状態になるかもしれない。
Maybe it works like a D-mail. The instant we send a D-mail, the present changes around us. Thanks to reading Steiner, only I remember what it was like before the change.
その方が楽だけど悔しくもある。
That would make things easier, though I kind of hope you're wrong.
データを観測できないからか?
Because you can't collect data if you can't record the change?
そういうこと。
Exactly. Kurisu nods and begins tinkering with the settings again.
転送先は5時間前にしておいた。つまり午後1時40分くらい。
I set the destination to 5 hours ago. You should arrive around 1:40 p.m.
覚えてる？私がタイムリープマシーンを完成させたのは2時過ぎだった。
I completed the time leap machine just after 2. You remember? Barely. For Kurisu, that happened only 5 hours ago. For me, it feels like weeks. Maybe it really has been weeks.
時間にルーズな男は嫌われる。
Nobody likes a man who can't remember dates.
感謝しなさいよ。私は時計をよく見る癖があって、何時に何があったかは結構覚えてるの。
Be thankful that I make a habit of checking the time. I have a pretty good idea what happened when. Kurisu finishes typing and turns to face me.
いい、岡部。タイムリープマシーンを使うなら、これだけは覚えておいて。
Listen, Okabe. If you're going to keep using the time leap machine, there's one thing you must remember.
携帯電話は絶対に手放さないこと。それはあんたの生命線、局所場指定のマーカーなの。
Don't let go of your phone, ever. It's your lifeline, your destination marker.
それさえ持ち続けていれば、どの時間へも跳躍はできる。
As long as you keep it with you, you can leap to any time you want.
でももし手放してしまって誰かに使われたら。
But if you lose your phone, if someone else gets a hold of it, then, if I leap to that time, my memories could overwrite theirs. I don't want to imagine what might happen next. And you know, this is the second time they've mentioned this, and so now I think even more that it's going to happen at some point.
あるいは充電が切れたり壊されたりしたら。
If it breaks or the battery dies, then I won't be able to leap to that time. If it breaks, then I can get a new phone with the same number, but there will still be a period of time to which I can never leap.
タイムリープは成功しない。
Time leap will fail.
だから絶対に携帯を手放しちゃダメ。
Once again, never let go of your phone.
了解だ。
Got it.
今日の昼間にタイムリープしたら、2時に私がマシンを完成させるまでは、あんたは特別なことはしてはいけない。
After you leap back to this afternoon, just sit tight and don't do anything until I complete the time leap machine.
これが完成しないと、きっとこの時間までの流れが大きく変わってしまう。
If you accidentally prevent me from completing the time machine, or the time leap machine, it will likely wreak havoc with the timeline.
完成したらすぐに実験はしないって宣言して、 全員解散させて。
As soon as I finish, declare that we will not experiment, then send everyone home.
それから私に声をかけてくれればいい。未来から来たって言われれば多分私は信じる。
Ask me to stay, tell me the truth. If you say that you came from the future, then I'll probably believe you.
なんでわかる？
How do you know?
私のことは私が一番よく知ってる。
Who knows me better than myself? And you know, it's actually going to be pretty funny if she doesn't believe him now. I kinda half want her to not believe him now. Krisu grins faintly and stands up after she's done typing.
そもそも電話レンジを改良してタイムリープマシンを作ったのは私なのだぜ。
Don't forget, it was my mad skills that turned the phone wave into a time leap machine.
さっきあんたからタイムリープしてきたって言われた時は自分の理論は間違ってなかったって思えた。成功してよかったって思えた。何の疑問もなくね。
When you told me about your time leap, I took it as proof that my theories were right. I was happy it succeeded. I really was. I didn't doubt it was true for a second. I see.
念のためにキーワードを決めておきましょう。
But just to be safe, I should probably give you a passphrase.
私の今一番欲しいものはマイフォークである。
What I want the most right now is my own fork.
なに？
What?
あ、いや別に意味なんてないからな。
It doesn't mean anything, okay?
マイフォークが欲しいのか？
You want your own fork.
マイスプーンはもう持ってるからってそこに興味持つな。
I already have my own spoon. Wait, that doesn't matter.
はいはい、準備できた。いつでも行ける。
Everything's ready. Now get out of here. I nod and call up the phone wave name subject to change.
気をつけて。
Be careful. And remember,
私はいつだってあんたの味方よ。
I'm always on your side. Krisu touches my shoulder, then steps away. Okay. Well, I think we're gonna call it there today. And I feel like they set up so much this episode. The whole disconnected from causality thing. The, what was it? It was more. Why am I blanking now? They set up the thing with her believing him if he tells her he's from the future. I feel like they set up kind of almost a romance angle on Krisu and Okabe, although I'm pretty dang sure there have been plenty of signs, you know, before now, actually. But I felt like they really sort of, you know, the fact that they were on a couple's bridge and that sort of thing, and him saying her real, you know, her actual name for the first time. Yeah, definitely felt like that was getting pushed a bit. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he finally did what I wanted him to do, which was to, you know, actually talk with people and tell them exactly what was going on. I really felt like that was the only way we were going to get out of this thing. Although I have to admit, if he told her exactly what happened, once again, I'm gonna say, why hasn't either Okabe or Krisu thought to actually ask Suzuha what her deal is? How is it that she is able to take on a full squad of hitmen, essentially? In fact, not just that she's able to do that, But how was she able to anticipate that? That's probably the more suspicious part. She heard about the bomb threat, and then she instantly knew, almost like she knew what was about to happen. She left, turned on the CRT, and got ready, you know, and she even asked, you know, about the time leap machine. So she knew, she absolutely knew what was going to happen. I don't know if she knew specifically what was going to happen, but she knew something was about to happen. I feel like it's just weird that neither of them even mention it. But, oh well. I guess for whatever reason the story doesn't want us to know what Suzuha's deal is yet, but okay. But otherwise, I feel good that we've actually made progress. That's at least something. All right, next time we will. Well, we will actually get to something new, which is good. I've been The Worm. This has been Steins Gate. Hope you're all doing well, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.